So then, ladies and gentlemen, get some hype for Step 5 of Trackmania Grand League. Last week I could not cast, but now the voice has healed. We are back, and we are on Pool Party here in the pre-match warm-up. Let's just have a look at the map preview real quick. This is the track, if you watch Trackmania Grand League, you will be familiar with. If this is your first time, then I can tell you that this map is all about precision. You have to drive through narrow corridors here between the pillars and make sure not to crash. Do that twice per lap in combination with a lot of other difficult technical corners. You can see it here with the onboard point of view, just how narrow this section is. That is the Pool Party section that the players will have to do. Now, in the past times that we've seen this map, Pack especially has been a standout player doing really well. Grenadi's also has some good performances here, but one of the players that we know has like the highest pace is Offie. Offie and Carl Jr. are names to look for as well, as we get onto the map here in just 3 seconds. So at this point we are live. The players really have to have done their homework now. You know, they get a week to practice all the previous maps and the new track, and now in just a minute after the warm-up, they will be going in for real. So let's see then. Also, very important step here for Tween, who is currently in the last place in the standings. And he has not had the greatest season yet, but he currently holds the world record on the last track. Publicly, that is. Some players practice in secret and we don't know their times. Like Gwen, like Carl Jr., we don't know their true pace. But Tween here is one of the fastest players on that last map. And if he can secure a multiplier and do well on the other maps, Tween can get a huge comeback this step in the season. So, hopes up for Tween here that he can bounce back. Also hopes for Carl Jr., one, you know, the greatest of all time. He's currently in the overall standings in 10th place here, Carl. Which would mean him not making playoffs if the standings remain. So hopes for Carl Jr. that he can do well. There's a rumor going around that he is very fast on the last map in the step. Bolt holes. That he has the pace there that no one else has. There's a step to be played before we get there, but we'll have to see. Current world record on this map is by Mura. So he just set that today, actually, a couple of hours ago in his practice. So maybe he could do well, but the warm-up has been extended, so there is some tech issue they're working on, I would guess. Of course, want to have everyone ready when the step begins so that there's no problems when we first start. But that should be taken care of. The hearts on the scoreboard here, if you see them, they are currently which players are being cheered for the most in the streams. So if there's a player in particular that you're rooting for, you can use the Twitch extension to cheer for any player you want. You just click the Go Player Name button to cheer for them. So yeah, right now it's Musa being the most cheered player ahead of Bren, but if you guys use the extension, you can quickly put anyone up there as the most cheered player. Also do see some frames here, but I think that is nothing I can do anything about. So hopefully that will be sorted after the warm-up as well. We'll get into it. "30 seconds left here. Let's take note of the overall standings one more time. Last step, before the last step, we had Grenadi leading the season, but he did not get a multiplier on that map, if memory serves me right. So it is now Arel, the step 1 winner, that's leading, ahead of Offie, the step 2 winner, I think. And then you have Musa, who got a huge 5 times multiplier in step 4. So all the players at the top have gotten huge multipliers, but really fun to see, especially rookies like Grenadi in their first season. Doing really well here, but the warm-up has concluded and one player was stuck on the starting line, not driving. That being Worker. So I'm not sure if we are live here. I'm gonna have to wait for confirmation. But it could very well be that we are. Maybe he's fixing something though. For now, the players are racing. So we see a little bit of shakiness through the pillars, but it's Offie in the lead. As expected, this is one of Offie's best maps. He showed that he could consistently beat all the other 16 best players in the world on this very track when it was used in the multiplier rounds, in the 2x multiplier format, two lap format. But now we see Mutta and we see Gwen challenging up there, and Carl Jr. as well. Gwen had a bit of a rough season so far, but last step he really bounced back and showed what he can do when he practices. But now we'll see in the first pole section, Papu hits the wall and drops down on the scoreboard. Because of that, that is all the way down into 15th place, not accounting for Worker, who I think apparently is not driving this map. Maybe he's gotten underweight. No, he's still waiting, so something going on over there. But it is Mutta with the fastest first lap. Carl Jr. has overtaken the lead since then, though, ahead of Gwen. Now, just 1 year ago in the fall season, last year, these were the two players we saw battle back and forth, and it's a very interesting battle. Carl Jr., the greatest of all time, versus Gwen, the young rising star, just 18 or 19 years old, I think, whereas Carl is in his mid-20s. Gwen has been playing Trackmania since he was just 4 years old. So don't let the age fool you. He's a veteran player, but he's really only made the step onto the pro stage in the last 2 years, and still has yet to win Trackmania Grand League playoffs. He did win regular season in fall, I think. And he takes the best lap there. Fastest lap from Gwen, 1:16.48. A nice lap time. Do we see any significant change in the standings? No, it's very close here. I mean, look at this. We have 11 players within 0.7 of a second after the first 2 laps. So Tween here is not driving a bad round whatsoever. He is within 1 second of Gwen in first, but that's enough to put him into 11th place. And the top 10 is a lot closer than that. You just see a sea of name tags. All the players side by side here. Now let's see Offie in this part, because we know Offie can get a lot of speed out of that dirt part. That's one of the sections of the track where he really excels. You can see here he at least gets 1 position in that corner alone. Getting just a little bit closer. But Mutta, that we pointed out, that has the world record, has made a mistake. He's down in 14th place. And Arel, the league's leader, is down in 13th. So they have not gotten off to a great start. But very close apart from that. Look at the consistency from these players. In even such narrow corridors, they do not make any mistakes. And it is now Grenadi ahead of Pack and Carl Jr. up in the lead. And just based on this lap time pace, I can tell you they are close to the world record pace, but that is Offie going flying there in the field of view. He makes a mistake, luckily just where the track win is, and can respawn quickly, but he will drop down to 13th place. Let's now put our attention at this top 3 battle. Carl Jr., Pack, and Grenadi fighting for it. Gwen made a mistake, Offie made a mistake. So 2 of the best players on this, together with Mutta, are out of the fight for first. And we really have to wonder, like, could this be Carl Jr.'s big step? The steps so far have been defined by the winners. We think back to step 1, we think of Arel's 400-point performance. Think back to the previous step, we think of Massa getting the 5 times multiplier. The one, well, the most recent one, Gwen getting the 5 times multiplier. But we have yet to see a step we could really call Carl's step, and he is looking for it right now. Side by side with Pack, 100th apart. New fastest lap time from Binks, but Carl Jr. and Pack up front are driving 1:16.4 pace. And this is very close to world record. 2 weeks ago, we saw Pack almost beat the world record in the live round. Want to remind you, the time is a 6:43.29. The world record from Mudda, driven today. And Pack was able to get a 6:43.8, I think, in a Trackmania Grand League step. Binks up there now, challenging as well. Another rookie joining the battle with these established, experienced names like Carl Jr. and Pack into the dirt section. Pack has managed to get a 0.17 lead, but Carl with more speed will reel it back in closer within a 1/10 of a second now. Into the drift here, Carl Jr. pushing that corner, getting a lot more speed, trying to just smoothen out his dirt exit to maintain as much speed as possible, and he is closing this gap little by little, but it's still Pack up in first, and Pack gets a no drift in the corner there before the pillars. He will lose his lead there, and Binks with a lot of speed jumps up into first now, into the final lap. We see a new fastest lap by Gwen, a bit of a band-aid for him. Down in 9th, needs a mistake to happen for him to climb back up. But look at this battle for first. Binks, Bren, and Carl Jr. all side by side towards the grass part. They do a small speed slide here all the way down the hill. Then try to set up wide before this turn, because you want to build as much speed as possible into the pillar section, and then just weave between the pillars without making contact. Now the dirt part, a little bit more speed in this exit could be the difference maker. Carl Jr. has more speed than Bren. He will overtake second place for sure, but Binks is still holding strong up in first. And Binks has the same amount of speed as Carl Jr. Binks is looking for this map win right now, ahead of the greatest of all time. Carl Jr. dives down more though. He gets a better dirt line, and Carl Jr. is back up into first, ahead of Binks by only a car length, but Bren is not out of the fight either. All three are battling up the hill into the last drift. Who will get the most amount of speed? Will it be Bren, Carl Jr., or Binks? Binks is trying, but Binks has to release. Bren is trying, but it will be Carl Jr. winning by just 0.02 of a second, and Binks only a 10th behind that again. 7:44.2 winning time for Carl. Great race by all the players, and what a start to the step here. Gwen getting the unfortunate 9th place there. You can see it's only worth 5 points, but it gets 2 extra points for the fastest lap. Off feed Pack down there as well. Pack was driving magnificently up until his mistake, so positive signs there for Pack, but an unfortunate crash. And also unfortunate for Worker, who missed this first map. Hopefully he will be able to drive the next one. We are going on to map number 2 of the step. That is Vertigo by Popwet. Let's have a look at this one, the map preview. This is one of the hardest tracks to drive consistently in the Grand League map pack. The reason being is that there are a lot of pipes. The map is called Vertigo, and you really don't want to look down here or fall down. You want to keep your car on the pipes at all times. Driving up here, you really have to have perfect balance and keep the weight of the car always pointed towards the pipe to make sure that you stay on. And we saw a very close race here in the Challenger League earlier today, and we hope to see the same from our Grand League players. The world record here, a 6:12.7 by Massa, driven over 2 weeks ago. That time, Massa drove a really strong world record in just practice, and we have not seen anyone being able to beat that. But the winning times in the matches have been around 6:16, because players tend to save a little bit extra here when they're driving this pipe especially. You do not want to fall off or make a mistake. And you can see even Massa here, he is committing his warm-up to practicing this exact pipe turn over and over again. He does not need to drive the rest of the track. He just wants to practice this sequence of turns. You want to dive down really low and then drive up, and the same for the second one. That's how you get the most amount of speed. You can see some players on the other parts here as well. This last pipe, the reactor one, is very tricky since you have to change sides so many times to keep the grip on the surface. And if you go just a little bit too fast there, then your car will fly off. Let's maybe see if someone can demonstrate this. Yeah. Oh, Arel almost lost the grip, but he kept it. If you go a little too fast and you lose ground contact with the reactor booster, you are going for a journey. So it's difficult, it's precise, and it's again a game of risk-reward, I feel. Like, everyone here has the potential to drive like 614, 615. But then you get a bit too excited, you drive a bit too fast, you make a mistake, you respawn, it costs you 6-7 seconds. And suddenly, you know, you're in the red positions. So we have to see a lot of constraint, honestly, from the players. To say, okay, I know I can drive faster, but, you know, let me just make sure I get through this safely. And I heard Granati especially talk about this. That his strategy on a lot of maps is, I have to get a clean first lap. I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure I don't make a mistake in the first lap, because that will just ruin your entire race. And already, look at the splits. We see Binks, Mossa, Kappa, and Worker have fallen off the pipe. Last week, we saw 16 players survive that first time, but now we've lost 4 in the very first turn. So Mossa, the world record holder, 18 seconds behind. That is the match ruined here, pretty much for him. Bren with the fastest lap opener, a 1:04.5. That is a very respectable time. But for players like Granati, this is mission complete. You survive the first lap and you still have a fighting chance in this race. Nothing is over yet. Now you can start to think, okay, where am I going wrong? Where do I need to adapt my pace? Where do I need to go faster? And for most of them, it is going to come down to this turnpipe after the uphill turn here. So best of luck for the second time now to the players. We're on board with Spam. Can they all survive the turn? See Spam there, he's pushing the brakes a little bit extra as Arel and Scrappy both go falling off. And did we lose another player there right before the end of it? I think we lost Binks. Not too sure, but there are a lot of mistakes. Already we have lost many to these pipes and we're only in the second lap. That puts into perspective what kind of race we will have on our hands here. It is still Bren up in the lead, a 2:06 on the second lap split. That is so fast. Look at this, he has a 2-second lead to everyone but Offie. No one else is able to keep up with this pace. And so you have to wonder, for Bren, like, how long can he keep this up? Everyone else is driving safer because they know that is not sustainable in the long run. Offie is able to keep up, but let's see how Bren handles these pipes. Why he's 2 seconds up. Can Bren do it again? He tries to keep the upper gear. This time he geared down. But that is not a safe approach at all. Looking back here, it seems like most players have survived except for Offie, who drops down into the group of players who have made at least one mistake. And the same for Granati, actually. This allows Pack back into the top 8 now. Offie and Granati both made a mistake. And did we just lose Tween there? We did. Oh no. Tween fell off at the very end of the pipe there. So the mistakes are stacking up, and what do we see here? How sustainable is the pace from Bren? There is the mistake, and all of a sudden, the 2-second lead was insignificant as it is now Papu in the lead of the race. So Bren was playing a risky game, and there he pays the price. Papu ahead of Mudda, ahead of Carl Jr. But we are getting down and dirty here. This is not a clean race, so many mistakes. So now you really just gotta keep the focus for the final laps. Recognize your position and your potential here. And just looking at the scoreboard from the previous map, it's almost an entire flip. Like Papu got 3 points. Pack and Gwen 3 and 7 points. Spam only with 2 points. They all have a golden opportunity. And players that did well in the previous one, like Tween, Scrappy, Bren, and Mossa, are in the red right now. Looking to get almost no points. We see Carl dropping, but that is only 1 position No big mistakes made by the Canadian. Positions will remain for the top players. How is Grenadi back into the top 8 here? Grenadi has driven a fantastic lap there to climb back up. And Tween is just 1 second away. We talked a little bit in the opening about this could be Tween's step. He got 18 points in the first map, which is huge for him. Just needs to gain a second on someone. Namely, Binks being the closest though. To get into the top 8 again. That is the objective for him. And starting a step with 2 top 8s is huge. Getting a 9th can be very sour. And Spam hesitates, giving Tween this opportunity to go green. And he will take it for now. It is Tween 1 second ahead of Scrappy in 8th place. With a golden opportunity to keep it. And looking up front now, Gwen has managed to climb his way all the way back into 2nd. Just by driving faster than the others. Finding himself close to Papu there. But what a change up. Shows how you can just not hesitate on the pipes at all, or else you will fall off. You have to commit to one set line there. Papu ahead of Gwen. Ahead of Mara here, but Gwen hits the wall. Instant respawn. How much will this cost him? He's behind Pack in 6th place right now. And will even be beaten by Grenadi there. Down to 6th. Just a small blunder there from 2nd to 6th place. Papu made it, Mara made it. Same for Carl and Pack. Gwen going shaky on the pipe. Tries to respawn to keep the speed. And he will indeed, but Tween has dropped down. Tween could not handle the pressure by the looks of it. He respawns as well. It's Rel up in 8th. What's going on in this race? Let's take a look at the battle for first as Papu releases. Mara's getting dangerously close to this one. Will Papu hold it? Yes, he will, but Carl Jr. will snipe 2nd place on the finish line. Pack gets 4th. Grenadi 5th. Binks 6th. Gwen in 6th, sorry. Rel in 7th. Binks drops down. And Tween goes back into 8th. Tween with a miraculous comeback. I do not believe what I'm seeing here. So many flips back and forth. And the winning time here is 10 seconds behind the world record. This was not the round everyone was thinking we'd have here, but what a mess, honestly. But huge step for Tween to get 2 top 8s in the first 2 maps. Carl Jr. though, looking really solid. 47 points. Mudda with 36. Tween, Grenadi, Papu in the top 5. A lot can still happen here. As we go on to Poolside, the 3rd map, built by Kaisla. This one is very interesting for the one fact that there are so many possible lines you can drive here. When we saw this in the 2-lap format, like 13 of the 16 players were hiding their times because they did not want their opponents to know what lines they would drive. Now we know all the cards are on the table. All the options that we know have been shown to us. And it's going to be interesting when we see this one in action. But as always, before we get to this map, we have the crowd favorite. We have Clash Time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Twitch Plays Trackmania, effectively. You can see the commands here. If you type ++, we will accelerate. If you type -, we will brake. Left for right. No. Left for left. Right for right. And the mods can type RS to respawn the car. Looks like a very difficult track. We have water and trees. Now, just to keep in mind the chat delay here, it starts out with a left turn. I saw that. We steer left in the start. So, we are steering Tween's car. Get ready to turn left here, everybody. Okay, we're turning a lot left, but this is better than the alternative. Inside line here by the chat. It's gonna go to the right here, keep that in mind. Next turn to the right. And you guys are about 3 seconds behind what I am seeing, so... Turn to the right, good stuff, good stuff. Now to the right again after the boosters here. Slightly to the right. Looks to be the line. Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful, everybody. And now we have a water part with some obstacles. Oh, dear. A little bit to the left, maybe. Oh, we can still drive here. Do not need a respawn yet. A little bit to the left, everybody. To get past the obstacle. Oh, yes, I think we passed it. We have cleared it. Beautiful stuff. Now to the right. To the right to get to the next checkpoint. We are top 8 with that beautiful line. And a very sharp left after the checkpoint here. With ice. We need a full left commitment from everybody. Just about now. Fully to the left. To try to survive this turn. This has to go only left. Only left taps. And now we need to stabilize towards the finish. Line it up, left. Okay, keep it straight. We are so well lined up. Oh no, are we gonna miss? We need that right tap, one right tap. Okay. Not bad, this could work. Don't go in the gap. Save it, chat. No, respawn, we have to respawn really quick. Respawn from the mods. We almost won this one though. Left. To the left is where we need to go. Line it up. Oh no, it looks like one car has it. Oh, they missed. Okay, our rel has it. If we just keep this straight, inaction is better than action. Don't turn. Oh no. We are going off the rails. Actually pretty wicked here, chat. Nice line. I like it. I like the line. Can you guys save it though? Yes, you can. Yes, you can save it. What a great save by the chat. Oh, okay. Now we're in a bit of a predicament. Okay, it looks like we are going the worst place we could go. And that's going to have to be a respawn. Now then, to the left. I believe only one chat has finished so far. Or make that 2, 3. This looks beautiful. This is absolutely a gorgeous line. We need a right tap. Yes. Oh no. We are going flying. Maybe it's good though. Maybe. I believe. No. We are going down again. Oh my. This map seems to be cursed. Getting into the finish line here. Whenever you see the car move one way, press the other. If you see the car moving left, press right. Counterbalance is the best type of balance. Yes, that's good. Okay, I like it. Oh no. Oh no. One last try, quick respawn. Doesn't look too good for us here, everybody. This does not look too good. 10 seconds left. We need a perfect lineup on the booster. And we will not have the time. But applause in the chat. A valiant effort by everybody. I respect the effort. Well done. Well done by everybody who participated. Now then. Let's take a look at Poolside. I mentioned this track has a lot of possible lines. You will get to see it in the warm-up with all the players driving. I'm particularly curious if anyone will go for the waterbound strategy. You'll see what that is. The players we've seen go for it are Pack and Scrappy, so let's follow Pack here in the warm-up. So on this track, in this very first corner, you can choose to go high and then take the platform for more speed, or you can choose to go for a narrow line. Pack here with the highest line will be up in front, not quite first. And then in this dirt turn, you can also go very high, all the way up on the banking to get more speed. We know Uffy likes to do this. You can see Uffy here, he went wide and then with a lot of speed, he's going to come back like a rocket up into the top 3 positions. Now you have the triangle line, where some people go in that checkpoint triangle, setting up for the grass turn to get a little bit more speed. But look at Pack. Oh, let's not look at Pack here. Let's maybe follow Scrappy into the water bounce. Because Scrappy will go for this water bounce line setting up for the uphill. That seems to be about equal with what the others are doing. Some players will go left side here, some go right side. And then here, a drift setup into the water. This saves time, contrary to diving fully down into the water, because your wheels are more dry, so you have more speed that way. That is how this map works. In a nutshell, many lines you can take, many different options. Overall, players are going to go for comfort and consistency. But we know certain lines like these high lines to be a little bit better if you can execute them well. So Carl Jr. here was going to go for the fast line, I think, but decides to stop and take a sip of water. I'm assuming. Here you can also see the triangle line. But I wanted to spectate Pack, because Pack has a cool... Will we get there? Yes, we will get there. There's one more line, and then I'll stop. Then I'll stop talking. I'll stop explaining everything. There's one more line to see here on this track, and that is from Pack. It is not the double wall hit combo. Is he not going to go there? Pack. He's not going to go there. Alright, well, okay. It's in this dirt turn that Scrappy just passed, where you can do an outside approach. Is he going there? 10 seconds left. He's not going to get there. We are going to have to wait for the live round to see it. We are going live on Poolside by Kaisla. 6 laps of driving. Let's see who will win. I believe it was Papu that won this one the last time. So we'll follow him for the first lap here. Papu also with the world record, a 6:52. Fastest of everyone here. But we know everyone is capable of driving 6:53, 6:54. Around that benchmark is what we'll see. Uffy with the high line going up into first place. But now, Pack, you cannot escape us. Show us your line in the dirt part. Pack here is going to go wider than the others and go high up into this banking to build up more speed. He looked a little bit shaky on that, but he makes it work. Scrappy with the water bounce, the only player going for it. The others are going for this slide setup now on the left side here to keep ground contact, and then into the water. Scrappy again with the wide line beforehand. Will gain a little bit, but was that someone sliding out? Scrappy looks to be fine with the Belgian car, so who was it? That seems to have been Papu, the world record holder on this track, dropping down, and also Carl Jr. 1 second behind the field after the first lap is completed. Not the greatest start for him. But going in to the second lap, we see Grenadi up in front with a lot of speed. We'll be able to keep that ahead of Spam and Scrappy. Spam not with the greatest step so far, only 3 points after the first 2 maps. But this is a map where he was very close to getting a multiplier. He has good pace here, and now that he doesn't need to just win the round, he only needs top 8 to secure good points. It could be a great opportunity for him to do so. Knows that he likes to go for this left line together with Pack. Massa is a left side driver as well. Some of the others going right side. And now the last turn. How wide do you dare to go before this one for the speed? You see a new fastest lap from Pack. He jumped all the way from the red positions up into 4th. Sets up wide for the speed here, but this is an incredibly close fight from the top 8. Everybody is within 0.6 of a second here in that top 8 battle, and that 1 second mistake from Carl Jr., which on Vertigo would have been practically nothing, on a map like Poolside that's decided by raw pace. This is going to be an uphill battle for the 4 times world champion to deal with, because where do you gain the time? Everyone else is driving almost as fast, and you will have to claw your way back with a couple of hundredths here and there. You can see it was 118 behind, now it's 114, 117. It's not going to be easy here for Carl to get into the green positions. He will try with this slide approach. Gains about a 10th there. But Pack is now up into first. Before the water part, Scrappy with an awkward exit out of the water, not what he was looking for. And he will have to try to save it. Does a great job of that. But Pack doubling back-to-back new fastest laps. 108.4 is a masterful lap time. And with that, he will have the first place secured for now. But there we see Carl. He tried to risk it to get back in green. 11 seconds behind. Carl Jr. will not be getting a top 8 positions on this map. And I think the same can be said for Binks and Papu. Just too far behind here. But nothing is over yet for Tween and Mossa. They are in the red, but they are within contention. Only 0.4 of a second. Kappa as well, with a couple of great laps. That is very much doable. Once again, we go into the ending of the lap here. Over the water part. On board with Spam, just 3 points, surrounded by players with 30. Great time to come back in the step before the multipliers. Get a couple of points here, couple of points on the next map. And then you'll be all set to double, triple, quadruple, or quintuple your points later on. But the gaps are widening here. Pack is driving a monster pace up front. And only Gwen and Granati are able to closely follow it. The others are losing almost a second in total now to the British player. But Gwen, he seems to be able to keep up. Driving just about the same as Pack. 0.3 behind only. But he is losing a little bit in each segment here. Now let's see Pack on his 5th lap with this outside line. This is one of the things that he does that nobody else is going for. Some players deem it too risky. And you can see on the next split, oh, never mind. Gwen drove that really well. Will gain a little bit back. Gwen with a jump line. Trying to catch back up. There's some huge position changes. Down in this field, look at how many people are fighting for the top 8. Dear Lord, this is going to be a close one. There's 5 or 6 players here at the cutoff for top 8. And only 3 of them will survive. This is going to be a nail-biter here. Tween joining that battle as well. This is the fight for survival here in Tmgl. Only the top 8 players after the regular season will advance into playoffs. And now is the time in the 5th step out of the 8 steps to really show that you want it, that you have to earn it. Offie will overtake one player. I believe that was Bren who hit the wall. He's out of the fight for the top 8. Pack has extended his lead up in the front. Pack should be poised to win this one. Offie's trying here though. He overtakes Scrappy. And with that, he's just 1 position away. Tries to overtake Tween here for the top 8. But Tween is holding on strong. He's barely gotten the top 8 on the first 2 maps. Can he do it again? Different lines. Tween is on the tail of it. As we see Pack and Gwen up in first. Pack will win this one, but who gets the top 8 position? I believe that Tween barely secures it there ahead of RL in the final turn. Yes, he does. And what a winning time from Pack. 6:53 with the fastest lap. Only a second behind the world record. Gwen getting second there. Great stuff for him so far as well. Spam finally getting some points. Granati consistent as ever. Same for Mutta. And then we see Tween, who is on his best step so far. Really, really good for Tween. With 45 points here, that is half the total that he's had in the season in total. So Tween is on for a great step. Let's see if he can keep it up. As we go on to the 4th map here, that being Launchpad. We saw this map for the first time last week in the 2-lap format. That time it was all about pace. We saw Gwen waiting for the 5-time multiplier round and winning. And believe it or not, Gwen is also fast at 6 laps. But the world record holder on this one is Mutta from Australia. The Penguin himself is the man to take a look at here. 625 low is the world record. And that is a very fast run to go up against. The thing that Mudda does really well is ice. It is one of his best surfaces in the game. And this track has an ice part that very few players are able to do as well as he does. Starts out here with a Neo slide to the right, a drifting technique, followed by 2 ice corners. But with gears and all, these 2 ice corners are very difficult to do properly. And you can see the gap already in the warm-up here that Mudda has been able to accrue. Just imagine that times 6 across 6 laps. That's maybe a second that Mudda can gain just in the ice alone. And on the rest of the track, he's decent too. So it's going to be very difficult for the others to go up against Mudda because he knows ice so well. So that's a challenge for sure. And then at the end of the track, you have the identity part, the main obstacle. Look at this. It's a reactor booster flight across the map through the rings. And you have to do that 6 times. And I imagine a lot of players will dedicate the rest of the warm-up to just trying this over and over again. We see some players are still on it, like Rel here, jumping through the rings, trying it again and again to make sure that they can be consistent, because that is a far jump to aim, to fly through without hitting or crashing 6 times back to back. But now is the time to do it. In step 5 on map 4 here, 6 laps to be played. Let's first take a look at Gwen in the opener here. Gwen has this wide start line that he found and used to win last step. And you can see here, this pays off an additional speed all the way up until the next turn here. But he will actually not be first with it. Mudda with the tighter line is in first. And now, as we set up for the ice, all eyes on Mudda, the Australian Penguin, as he will try to do these 2 turns as best as he can. One of the best ice players in the world. But he does get matched here by Gwen and Uffy. And it is Gwen with a huge lead onto the grass in the opener lap. So the question is, you know, Gwen is fast, but how consistent is he? He could win here pretty much any round he wanted in 2-lap format. But can he survive 6 laps without mistakes? Let's take a look at the reactor jump for the first time. All of the top 8 players at least have made it successfully, but Scrappy we see at least bonking the checkpoint. Rel with a big mistake as well, and Carl Jr. finds himself down in 13th place. 1 second behind. So Carl Jr. not getting through the opener laps. It was a theme on Poolside as well. Now onto the ice. All players getting the Neo slide. And then it's about the gears. When you shift the gear, Granati there had a very unfortunate gear shift right as he turned, and that costs you speed. So he will drop down on the ice segment. But they are already driving extremely fast up front. I mean, Gwen here has gotten almost a second lead to the other players in the first 1.5 laps. So he's on a tear. Let's see what his time will be on the multi-lap. If he gets there, no, he will not. Never mind. Gwen hits the ring, and that's how it goes when you play a dangerous game. Was on pace for a 2:09, which almost matches the 2-lap world record there, Gwen. But 1 respawn, and you're all the way down into 15th place. Pack has made a mistake as well, down in 13th. But Carl is clawing his way back. The world record here is by Mudda, 6:25 across 6 laps of playing. And other players have been close to 6:26. Really positive signs to see Cup up here. Cup up, who hasn't had the strongest step. He said in an interview that he believed it was not too late to make it to playoffs. Even though he's about 200 points away from it right now, it is still within reach if he drives well in the final few steps of the season. And right now he's doing just that on Launchpad. The comeback is starting. He is actually getting closer to Mudda here. The great reactor booster line, but so does Binks. who might overtake him here with a different setup before the grass and more speed. And that should be Binks clawing his way up into second place. There he goes. Takes that position away. Now we see still a really close field all the way down to around 11th, 12th. It's where the big mistakes have happened. The Grenadier in 9th here, who is one of the most consistent players in the field. There's a website, trackmaniagrandleague.com, where you can see all the stats from every player. And Grenadier has gotten top 8 on just about every map. There are some where he failed, like some 3 or 4 maps where he didn't get top 8. But generally, throughout the season here, Grenadier has been top 8, top 8, top 8, top 8. And right now he's down in the red, somewhere we do not see him often. But he just has this amazing capability to drive without making big mistakes and capitalize on the fact that other players do. Which is why you see him here now, overtaking a few more players. And with him passing Worker, that is him back into the top 8 positions where he belongs. Or belongs not necessarily, but the spot that he's earned, let's say. Mudda still in first, ahead of Kappa. Binks has lost a bit of ground. And then Papu up in 4th. But again, I have to keep pointing it out. Tween, the last place player in the league right now in the overall standings. If this position remains, we'll go up to 2nd place in the step. With a top 8 here. Only Mudda would be ahead of him. So Tween has really turned this on its head. I think a lot of players did not believe in him, but he is really showing up huge right now. And, you know, he does not have an org. So if you're an org watching this, this guy does pack a punch. Let that be known to the world. That if you're looking to sign a player in this league, that guy has no team right now. But we're going into the last lap. It is still Mudda up in first. Consistency has been key for him. The ice slides have been great all the way through. He gains in this segment every single time. And the only player who could keep up was Gwen. But he made the mistake allowing Mudda to just go for a walk here pretty much to the finish line. But we do see a very close battle for top 8. Spam is looking to play Denial here and take the 8th place from Tween in the final lap. Nothing to lose here. Might as well full risk it, because you don't get a lot of points for 9th. Mudda, we can see him in the distance there, will win the map. Binks in 2nd. Massa gets 3rd by the looks of it. And, oh, Spam almost sniping 8th. But it was Grenadier dropping down in the final part. Bren gets the 8th and final spot in the top positions there that get the most points. So Mudda first, Binks 2nd, Massa 3rd, Kappa in 5th, just behind Papu, Carl Jr., Tween, and Bren. So let's see how this will stack up. We should have Mudda in first, ahead of Carl Jr., ahead of Tween, as we enter the final map. Many points to be multiplied here for these players. And we are going on to an interesting map. This map is built by Rocket. It's called Bolt Holes. The longest map of the Trackmania Grand League season thus far. In 2-lap format, it takes 2 minutes and 40 seconds to be completed. The public world record on this track is by Tween, a 240. And the identity section on this map, the obstacle part, is jumping through the holes in these bolts. That's why it has the peculiar name Bolt Holes. So the public world record is by Tween, 240.20. Massa has the 2nd public world record with a 240.23. Now the reason I say public world record is because there is a rumor that Carl Jr. has an insane time on this map. We do not know what the time is, but the story is that Carl Jr. showed Massa his personal best time while Massa was streaming, and Massa had a surprised reaction. For all we know, Carl Jr. could have practiced in secret here and have a personal best of 239. We really do not know. There could be some new line, there could be a lot of things. But the public leaderboard is one thing, but players that aren't on the public leaderboard are players like Carl Jr., players like Gwen. We do not know what they're capable of. So we're just going to have to wait and see how this stacks up. But knowing Carl Jr., if he has the fast pace, we may very likely see him wait to try to win a bigger multiplier. The format. If you don't know the format that they're going to play here, I'll try my best to explain it to you. They're going to drive 2 laps, and only the winner, only the fastest player, after 2 laps, gets points. The winner of the round will multiply their points. Let's take the example of Gwen, because Gwen has a nice round point score. Gwen has 50 points. If Gwen wins this round, he would multiply and get 100 points total. And then Gwen is done driving for the step. But if Gwen waits until the 5th round, Gwen could triple his points if he wins that one. So he could get 150 points. And then the 8th round here, you can 5 times your points, so Gwen could get 250 points. But if you don't win in the 8th and final round, you walk away with no multiplier at all. You get the same point score you have right now. So it's a risk-reward game. How long do you want to wait with winning? Looks like Gwen is not winning this first round, so has to try again in the next one. And second place is not good enough. If you get second place in any of these rounds, you will not get anything for it. You have to win. So that's why you see some players just hit the retire button. They made a mistake. They know they're not going to win, so they retire. But we do see Carl Jr. up in first, like we might have expected. Matched by Kappa here though, and Mura close behind. Through the first bolt hole here. They all make the jump. The pace is fast. We're looking for a 122 mid here on the lap split. And it looks like Kappa will have the fastest first lap. 122.38 in the first lap. That's on pace for driving a 240 winning time. So the other players here are going to have to push it to the limit. Worker going flying there in the full speed part. As the others go down the hill here before the quarter pipe jump. Mura is challenging for first here. He had the lead temporarily. With a better quarter pipe jump, he might overtake. He clips on the inside and that messes up his set line. Mura will fall off the platform without a multiplier to show for in this round. Kappa building up a substantial lead here. 0.4 ahead of everyone else. But will Kappa want it? He has 26 points. That would be 52 if he wins here. But if he sees that he has this pace advantage, is he gonna want to wait and win even a bigger multiplier? Potentially. Pack is trying to challenge here. He's the closest one, the only one that could deny him. Let's see in the final 2 jumps here. Nothing's over yet. You have to aim these perfectly, and that's not easy. Kappa has it if he wants it here. The 2 times multiplier, he takes it. 240.76. A great winning time for Kappa. And with that, he will go home with 52 points in the step. Keep in mind here, winning a round against the other 15 best Trackmania players in the world. You might say, oh, he should have waited. Trust me, that is not easy. You just beat Gwen, Pack, Carl Jr., Uffy, Bren. I mean, you beat everyone in a round. I think I'd be happy if I was first in one of these rounds. You have to be next level fast at this game to dare to not take a win in a round like this. Players like Carl Jr. might do that. Players like Gwen might do that. And Kappa could do that, but he decided, you know what? I don't want to have a tough day at the office today. I'm going for it. Great win by Kappa. Now 7 multipliers left that can be taken. 15 players left to fight for it. Mistake by Papu there. Dropping down. Likely not going to be the win for him. The pace here is fast once again by Mura. I was watching him grind this one on stream earlier today, and Mutta said he does perhaps not believe the rumors to be true about the Carl Jr. secret line. Now in the battle with Carl, he's gonna find out, is there some trick that Carl has? He goes for a lot of speed on the jump at least. Looks like Mutta crashed there. Binks hitting that one. Will try to save it, but no, Binks goes off the track. Great attempt nonetheless, but Pack opens with the fastest lap here, 1:22.35 to open. For reference, the world record lap here in the opener lap had about 1:22 flat. So they are driving very close to the fastest anyone has ever done on this track. It is Pack ahead of Offie, ahead of Carl and Granati. Very close fight for this multiplier. Carl going low, Offie trying to go full speed. Will he have time to set up the Neo slide? Looks like he can. Very quick adaptation by Offie. And with that, he is very close now to the first place. Tries to get through the tech section without crashing. Will do that. And look at this. It's almost a repeat of the World Championship Finals. Carl Jr., Pack, and Offie side by side here. Into the wall ride, into the final section. Offie with the inside approach will have the lead before the drift, but Carl Jr. now in first. And will Carl Jr. want to take this? Offie with more speed is actually gonna have a great chance to deny it here. He does have this under his control on the final jump. Offie will take this one, but look how close it is. No! Offie says no. I don't want it. It's Granati who will win the round and double his points. 200s ahead of Carl, 400s ahead of Pack. And now we know what we are playing with here. We're playing with fire. Offie's going all out. Not the greatest step, 30 points. Okay, he's gonna want a bigger multiplier. Granati, consistent as ever, will take the 2x and gain a bit, but oh my, we have some airlines at the start here. Massa and Scrappy both crashing that very first corner to put them out of the fight. But my, only a couple of hundredths. And one thing to take away from that, seeing Carl, seeing Pack both cross the finish line, they would want the 2x. They are not playing any games here. Carl and Pack are going for this. So if you see them up in first, you know they are for real. But look at this, Tween. The player that everyone discounted as being out of the fight in the Grand League. Last place with almost no points in the overall standings. Now with 64 points to his name. Looking to multiply. This would be a huge story for Tween. The step. If he can win just one multiplier on this track, he has the public world record. A 240.20. But we do not know what Gwen is capable of. We do not know what Carl Jr. or Bren, for that matter, is capable of. They have all secret practice times. And side by side on the first lap, look at the split. 1:22.09 by Gwen. And Bren and Tween are really close as well. This is actually world record pace here by the players. Bren, Gwen, and Tween all up there, and really no one else is able to follow. They're driving great laps back there, but it is just not fast enough at this level. So who is going to want it the most? Who's going to risk the most on the quarter pipe? Gwen going a bit too low, clipping the landing block, whereas Bren will get that effortlessly. Pushing the Neo slide through the reactor booster turn, and he will extend his lead. Tween is close though. Both of these players would want it if they can take it. Now different approaches into the grass. Tween with a lower turn here, more speed with the speed slide. He's getting closer before the wall ride, but it is still Bren in the lead with 42 points, and I think the pace is still very close to that world record. Tween is trying here though, he's getting closer, more speed in the tech part. Tween with a good jump here, could do it. Tween could have the comeback story of a lifetime. He has the lead with 2 jumps to go. One more for the victory for Tween. He will line that up, and what a beautiful run by Tween. He will take it, doubling his points. 240.50 as the winning time. Amazing run, just 0.3 behind his own world record on this map. And that is how you do it. Tween, the current leader of the step. He is back. He had 92 points going into the step. He just got 128 out of this. That's huge. So he can lean back in his chair and watch, as we do, the final 5 rounds here of the match. We saw Scrappy and Mossa fly off in the lead without, in the first lap of the last round, without a chance to do anything. But now they are up in first as we enter this round. The last round with a 2 times multiplier. Papu has already made a mistake, so he's not in the fight. Oh, Gwen and Mara both crash synchronized in that hole. So it is then Carl Jr. in the lead. Great checkpoints, but the fastest we've seen here so far before we go into the identity. The bolt holes, 3 jumps in tight gaps. Who will get them the best? So we can now turn our attention a little bit back here to follow the field. Bren here with the release approach will have less speed than the others who went for the full speed line. And we see a crash there by Binks, I believe, who drops down. It is Pack ahead of Carl. And the lap is still really fast, 122.2. Still a very respectable opener lap here. Not a lot of players are able to drive that pace. If they try. So Pack is extending here. Worker with a lot of speed, catching up to Carl Jr. for second. But they need to do something to close this gap. A low quarter pipe jump like that will do it. But Pack gets a great jump of his own, and they're not getting closer. It's still 0.3 up to the Englishman. And Pack with a lot of speed into the dirt. This lead is only going to increase for Pack, who is looking for a doubling of his scoreline here. 100 points out of this step would do him well. Pack, who has not traditionally been getting a lot of multipliers in the Grand League so far. Now a great chance. This is a fast run. But he clips before the penalty grass. And that is so slow and painful to watch as he drops down. Worker with more speed than Carl Jr. Worker with only 8 points could deny the others here, who have great scorelines to multiply. Spam is close. Spam is going to try everything he can towards the finish line, but no, he gets denied. Worker will take this one and walk home with 16 points, and Spam is only 0.03 of a second too short from doubling his points there. 240 seems to be where the standard is at here. That's what you need to do. And Worker will happily take that and say, yeah, I took your spot. Now you got to try again. I am the fastest. Great run there, but you got to feel for Pack. That tiny mistake. He was on an amazing lap. But if he can do it once, he can do it again. And now, if he does it again, it will be worth more. We are in the first 3-time multiplier round. 1 of 2. So if you win now, you triple your scoreline. Pack could walk home with 150 points if he wins this. And thinking of Mura's scoreline here, you start to get ridiculous points. Mura, with 79 points, could have 237 points by the end of it. But Carl Jr. will have to wait for the next one. Goes too wide there. And falls off at the grass turn. Also first time we see Scrappy so close to the multiplier. Wonder if he's been waiting out the 2x rounds to have a chance at the 3x. First time we really see Gwen up there as well, but Pack disappears. Pack hits the bolt. And that will cost him at least a second, maybe more, in the splits. And with him DNFing, this is a very stretched out field. It's Gwen with a world record paced opener lap, followed by Papu and Mura. And they are really the only 3 players fighting for this. And they all have big score lines. One of these players is going to get a huge final score to the step here. Will it be Gwen, Papu, or Mura though? Mura 0.7 behind perhaps not out of the fight yet. We'll have to see. We saw Gwen clip here in the previous lap. This time it's Mudda clipping on the landing. Gwen and Papu actually getting it better, but Gwen, monster lap here. He's gaining on Papu up until this turn. Papu is looking for it though. He is not giving up yet. It's still only 0.26. And now the small differences really start to matter. Papu has a lot of speed into the full speed part here. That might do well for him. Into the grass. He goes low. Is it too low? Will Gwen drive away with more speed here? Looks like Gwen is extending before the jumps. So it's all in Gwen's hands now. First jump does go his way. Does he want it? We know Gwen has been waiting for the 5x before. Will Gwen take it here? Last jump. He does have it, or does he? He crashes. And Papu snatches it away. I'm not sure if that was on purpose or not. But if it wasn't, Gwen made that look very real. Papu triples his points. 147. Great stuff for Papu. The last jump. Oh, that hurts. You know, and it's all about the mental game too. Like, let's say Gwen didn't intend to do that. He knew he could have tripled. And then he lost the chance on the final jump. That's gotta hurt. But he has the pace to do that one more time. It's just you're running out of chances here. Because Mudda's fast, Mossa's fast, Scrappy's fast, Bren is fast, Packy's fast, Carl is fast. And there's only 3 possible winning spots left. So someone will not be winning today. Actually, 8 people will not be winning. That's how it works. Mossa with a very fast opener here. Followed by Offie. The split 45-80. The same as we've seen in the other laps. So once again, they are driving fast. But now, Pack, great speed into the full speed part. This gap up to first is going to shrink. And I think it's going to be a 3-way tie before the first time on the identity. Some players go out wide to the right here. This is to get a diagonal jump. You cover more distance and you can carry more speed. You have to release the acceleration less. That is what Mossa and Pack did really well there. Whereas Gwen crashed and fell down on the scoreboard. 122.15 for Mossa. Great first lap here, but he is being followed by Pack and Bren. But there's no one who's going to follow him with that line. Mossa goes flying again. And Mossa will have to try again the 4 times multiplier round. As it is now Pack, Bren, and make that a 4-way battle with Aurel and Mudda. Maybe even Carl has a chance here. Oh, or at least he had one. Unfortunate mistake. Had to try something though. Not a lot of track left to gain time on. And he tries there. Makes the mistake. Pack with a half a second lead here in this run. And he is driving really, really fast up front. I think the best Aurel and Mudda can hope for here is a mistake. But Pack, he made one here in this turn last time. Is probably going to adapt and go a lot wider. Leaving a couple of pixels between his car and the edge. But now the jumps through the bolt holes. He releases. Will that let anyone catch back up? It's too far to make anything happen for Scrappy. Pack will still hold the lead. 1 jump to go. And Pack here will take the triple. 150 points with a 2:41.04 winning time. Great way to close the step for him in a current first place. Level up, it says. Now is when it's getting intense. 4 times multiplier this round, 5 times multiplier next round. These are the 2 most important rounds. If you have a lot of points, like Mudda with 79, or like Carl Jr. with 65, should you win this one, you are going to get a mighty paycheck of several hundred points. So Carl Jr., are the rumors true? Did he have a monster pace on this track? Can he drive that pace when it matters in one of these two rounds. With a bit of a awkward line there. He lost 0.6 to the leading pace here. So not the greatest opener for him. We see Gwen driving very fast up front. Massa with the DNF already. Massa going for the 5x. His last chance now after making a mistake. Mudda will only have one more chance as well after that mistake. Crashes in the bolt hole. Spam as well will crash on the identity. And you can see the desperation growing here as there is less and less chances. Gwen with a 1:22.02. Gwen again, world record pace here. After lap 1 for the young French player. There is no denying he wants this. Offie as well would want this. Offie retired a winning position on 2x multiplier earlier. But now, if you clip and you have to try to beat Gwen, it's going to get a lot harder to walk home with any multiplier at all. And Gwen is driving commandingly fast up front. Still over half a second. Down to Offie, 0.43 to Binks in second. He has this in his hands. Let's follow him through the identity and the final few corners. The wide line on the grass here. Could this let Binks get a bit closer? Oh, he is maybe within distance. Binks is going to try everything he can here to get through the gap with the most amount of speed, but he just crashes. And Gwen will get the 4x by the looks of it. One more jump to go. Offie's too far away. Gwen will get 200 points here. And what a comeback in the league this is for Gwen. He got 350 points last time, 200 points this time. And with those two performances, Gwen is actually going to get all the way up into 3rd in the Grand League so far. But Grenady and Arel could both get a multiplier, and that might change. Or maybe even Mudda, which I'm scared to think of if he would get this 79 times 5. You are looking at a lot of points, but he crashes in the opener of the lap. And no, instant DNF. Mudda does not get the 5 times multiplier. Still a 79 point step is very respectable. But empty-handed here in the multiplier rounds. And Offie makes a mistake as well. Instant retire. Bren as well. They know how fast the others are. That if you just make a small mistake, there is nothing you can do. Now from the spectator seats, they will watch, as we will watch, the battle between the remaining 6 players. It is Binks in the lead, ahead of Arel and Scrappy, but someone drops down. Was that Scrappy? No, it was not. It was Arel who made a mistake. Scrappy is still in the fight for first. Arel out of the fight. First jump through. All 4 make it. Up front. Carl Jr. hits. He releases a little bit to try to adapt his line, and he will lose some ground. How much is this going to cost him? 0.6 of a second. And you have to wonder, is it too far? Can Carl Jr. gain back this deficit in 1 lap of bolt holes? I do not think so. We've seen Scrappy win in these situations before. Now just 1 player in his way. That being Binks. The others, Spam and Carl Jr., are perhaps too far away. Scrappy with a low jump to try to clutch it out here in the final round. Double Neo slide. Still just a car length away from 5 times multiplier. A car length away from winning. But that 1 car length is the difference between walking home empty-handed and getting points. And Binks, on his trusted laptop keyboard, is still holding strong here. 1/10 of a second. Carl Jr. 0.4 behind. It will be a battle between Scrappy and Binks. in the identity on the bolt holes. Scrappy's trying to get closer. He goes wide, sets up for more speed. He knows this is what he has to do. This is where he has to make the decisive difference. Gets through with a little bit more speed, but it's still Binks in first with a great setup for the last jump. It should be Binks to win this one, and Binks will take the 5 times multiplier, and with that walk home with 220 points, winning the step there. Binks, a great performance for him in the 5 times round. Whew, that is how close it is. Just 0.2 of a second. The closest round I think we had was the one with Pack and Carl Jr. being just a few hundreds behind Grenady. But look at this. Grenady now back up into first in the Grand League, ahead of Aurel in second. Gwen is now third in the overall standings. Massa in fourth. Offie in fifth. Pack up to sixth. Binks up to seventh. Mudda down to eighth. And we actually see Carl Jr., who we thought might have a good step, down in 11th. Tied with Bran. But anything can still happen. Also, a big storyline this week was Tween, who with that step climbed a little bit closer to playoffs. It's still going to be very difficult for him. But, you know, he is one step closer. Alright, well guys, I hope you enjoyed that step of Trackmania Grand League. If you liked watching Trackmania esports like this, just want to remind you guys that, oh, not this one. This one, Trackmania Grand League is live every Sunday. So if you enjoyed this, come back next Sunday. Follow the channel if you haven't. We cast Trackmania Grand League every Sunday here. For me, for now, I'm going to keep streaming Trackmania. I'm just going to be playing some ice tracks and try to get the author medal on them. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed the cast. I was quite intense to watch. A joy to watch as well though. Trackmania at its highest level is just mesmerizing. Because it looks so effortless, like that track, right? Like they were driving 240, 241 every lap. I look at my personal best on this track, it's a 246. I have a 246 personal best. I'm 5 seconds behind. And we're just talking like, oh, he made a 0.7 mistake. He's now only on a 242 pace and it's over. Yeah, no, it's a world's difference. But let's see the new map. It's called Grasshoppers. Do you guys want to see the new Tmgl map before I play ice tracks? Because then I can show it to you.